Greetings, peace be with you. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 books that every man should read to destroy weakness. What is weakness? Weakness is when your decisions are being made through the lens of external expectations, right? Rather than internal values, right? When the world outside becomes more real than the world inside is when you become a victim to your conditioning, when you become a victim to your environment, right? And reading has really been something that has empowered me to elevate beyond that paradigm so that I can become the creator of my reality when I realize that the inside is actually what creates the outside. And once we reclaim our power is when we begin to take responsibility for our internal state, for our thoughts, for our behaviors. And that is when we become the masters of our life rather than the slaves of external expectations. Okay, so I'm going to run you through this list of 10 books. I don't want to dive too much into it because that would be a very long video. Some guys have been asking me on the comments, what are the 10 books that you recommend? And that's why I'm creating this video, right? My intention is to provide you like a brief overview of the premise, why it impacted me, and then hopefully you can check it out as well. Okay, now the first book on this list is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Okay, this was published in like the early 1900s, is like 1904, 1905, I believe. And the basic premise of this book is that your thoughts create your reality, right? If I was to put it in one phrase, that's it. But James Allen just has such an eloquent way of expressing this idea through so many different angles. And it's more like poetry and metaphor and analogies, and just the vocabulary that he uses is so deep. It hit me at such a deep level. I remember I had like tears, like not tears, but like I shed a couple of tears like the third or fourth time I listened to it, because it just hit me at such a deep emotional level. And I believe you can check out the free audiobook on YouTube or wherever it is, but definitely check it out. It's 50 minutes long. Literally, you can listen to it in one sitting. If you're listening to it on 2x speed, it'll be like 30 minutes. And this has been one book that I have read more than 20 times at this point, and I'll continue to come back to it again and again throughout my life, right? Now, the second book on this list is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Okay, Viktor Frankl was a survivor of I think 5 different concentration camps, and he created the philosophy of logotherapy, right? What is it that separated the people that were, suffering in the concentration camps and they weren't able to make it through from the people that were actually able to make it through, right? It came down to the meaning that they associated with the suffering. And like I said, Viktor Frankl came up with the philosophy of logotherapy. And this basically captures the conundrum of, we ask, what's the purpose of life? What's the meaning of life? What am I supposed to do in life? What's my purpose in life, right? And logotherapy really switches that on its head. It's like, it's not us that have the privilege of asking that question, right? What's the meaning of life? It's life that is asking us that question, right? And we are giving the answer through the way that we dictate our behaviors, our thoughts, and our state of being, right? So it's life that's asking us the question, what is the meaning of your life? And we are the ones that are giving the answer through how we live our life, right? That was like a huge shift for me once I realized this, once I began living this, because before it was like, yeah, my purpose is somewhere out there, I need to go find it. But then it's like, yo, go inwards. It's all inside, and then you can go and create the reality that you want, right? So I highly recommend you check that out as well. And that brings us to the third book on this list, which is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, right? So if you haven't read this book, you've probably heard of Think and Grow Rich. And in my opinion, Outwitting the Devil is even deeper. It's even more, it's had a bigger influence on my life than Think and Grow Rich, right? I've listened to this book like probably more than 10 times at this point. I've read through the notes, I've read through the book, I've taken notes on it, and I continue to come back to it again and again and again, right? I'm actually still listening to it right now. Because that's the thing with these books, right? They're universal principles, and the more that we grow, the more we elevate our awareness, the more we come back to the same book, and then we glean some new wisdom from it that we didn't glean before, right? So Outwitting the Devil, if you haven't read it, it's like a confession of the devil to Napoleon Hill, and he talks about how he runs the world, and eventually it comes down to non-drifters, right? People who are definite on their path and purpose. They're focused. They conceive an image of in their head of what they want their reality to look like, and then they go and they dictate their thoughts, their words, their behaviors in that lens, right? And then there are drifters, the ones who are going with the wind. It's like a leaf in the wind. It's like a ship without a sail, just going any which way that the external environment dictates them to go, right? And it's an amazing book. I highly recommend you check out the audio of this, because the devil is like talking like an actual devil. It's like a pretty amazing voice, like a deep voice. Definitely check out the audio, read the book, whatever it is. But really is one of the most powerful books that I've read in my life, right? And then towards the end, Napoleon Hill talks to the devil. He's like, yo, if you could just summarize this whole philosophy into one sentence, what it would be? The devil says, one's dominating desires can be crystallized into their physical equivalents through definiteness of purpose, with organized planning and the aid of nature's laws of hypnotic rhythm and time, right? Hypnotic rhythm and time. So definitely recommend you check out this book, because it's definitely, it goes over the first principles of success. It goes over some principles that hold people back, the 6 major fears, right? So definitely been something that changed my perspective, that has empowered me to become the reality creator that we are all destined to be. So highly recommend you check that out as well. Now, the 4th book on this list is Way of the Superior Man by David Data, right? This is a bit of a different book in terms that it's specifically for men on the path of exploring masculinity and how that plays into femininity, right? It's more about the polarity that takes place between masculine and feminine dynamics, right? What is the characteristics that really explain these two phenomenon, right? Masculine and feminine energies. It's not like male and female, right? Because that's what I got confused about for a long time. It's like masculine and feminine energies. We all have them, right? Of course, as a male, you have a primary effect of masculinity going on. As a female, you have femininity going on, right? And the thing with the modern society is that they're trying to make everyone the same, right? Everyone's the same. Everyone's equal. Men and women are equal, right? At the end of the day, I don't think they're equal, okay? Based on biology, it's not equal. It's like different hormones going on. Of course, I believe in equal opportunity, but at the end of the day, this whole agenda of feminism, right? Think about feminism. It's like, yeah, feminism, equal rights for women. And then you look at the typical feminist, right? If you look at a typical feminist, what does she represent? Does she represent femininity, or does she represent masculinity, right? And that's what it is. It's like, you know, masculinizing women and feminizing men so that they become the same, they become equal, and that's what this whole agenda is about, right? I don't know where I went on a tangent over here, but definitely read this book so that you can get to the core essence of what feminine and masculine polarity is, so that you can show up as a masculine man on your path and purpose, and then attract the woman that is in alignment with that, right? The feminine woman that is in alignment with that, and how to deal with these energies in your own life, in your interactions, right? And how you can fulfill your own masculine purpose. I definitely think this is an essential reading for every man. So check it out if you haven't already, right? Now, the next book on this list is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, right? One of the most profound books I've read. Marcus Aurelius, if you don't know, was the emperor of Rome during his time. He was the most powerful man in the world during his time. And while he was defending his empire from the Germanic tribes, he was writing in his war journal, right? Notes to himself, how to deal with people, how to conduct his behavior, what's truly important in his life. And we are blessed enough to have access to those private notes that he wrote to himself, and we can begin to embody those lessons as well, right? So this is again something that I come back to again and again and again. It's that rich, it's that powerful, captures, you know, all the big areas of life. And again, I recommend that if you want to think like a Roman emperor, if you want to dictate and act like a king of your life, then we can glean some serious wisdom from Marcus Aurelius, right? Now, the next book on this list is The Way of Men by Jack Donovan, right? Very important book, because it draws a differentiation between being a good man and being good at being a man, right? So what's the difference? Being a good man is about morals, it's about virtue, it's about ethics, right? The way you conduct yourself, right? Your character at the end of the day. And being good at being a man is about a survival scenario, right? If there's a zombie apocalypse going on, you want to be with someone who's good at being a man, right? Someone who can defend the tribe, someone who can protect, provide, and procreate, right? Those are the 3 P's of manhood, right? So it's about drawing that differentiation. A lot of guys get caught up in trying to be a good man, right? Oh, I'm going to be a good man. And then that's where we have nice guy syndrome going on. And then the women aren't attracted to that anyway. And then you're just off your balance as well. So again, definitely check out The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. It goes deep on the virtues and a bunch of other stuff as well. Okay, I definitely think every man should check out this book to really draw that distinction in his life and how he conducts himself, right? Now, the next book on this list is actually the first fiction book and the only fiction book that I recommend, and that is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, right? So Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead, they're both a similar theme, and it's just incredible. Okay, it's incredible. I read this book every single year. It's a pretty fat book. It's like 1,000 pages, but like I love it. And it's basically like the characters are an idealization of the perfect man, right? And the theme is basically like, you know, there's these men, like in Fountainhead it's the architect, and then in Atlas Shrugged it's Hank Reardon and Francesco d'Anconia, and these guys are like so sure of their path and purpose. They're so sure of the art they're here to create. They're so sure of the businesses they're here to create. But then society has certain expectations where they don't want people to stand out. They're actually promoting people that are not the best at their craft because there's a certain agenda at play over there. They want to again suppress that creativity and that genius. And how these guys stand up in the face of all of that, and how they stick to their values no matter what is offered to them, no matter what external situations are taking place. It's just an incredible read. I definitely think that every man needs to check this out. Okay, it's the only fiction book I recommend, but it's like, just check it out if you have the opportunity to do so. Okay, now the next book on this list is Solve for Happy by Mo Gaudet, right? At the end of the day, in some way, shape or form, everything that we do is dictated towards this particular end, right? To feel happy, right? But happiness is such an elusive term, and it's hard to actually grasp what is happiness. Does it mean pleasure in the moment? Because you can go smoke a joint, feel amazing right now. You can go pop a pill, feel amazing right now. But is that truly happiness, right? So in the book, actually, Mo Gaudet is an ex-Google engineer, right? So he's an engineer and he loses his son, and he actually comes up with this model for happiness alongside with his son, and then he publishes his book, which is largely influenced by his son as well. And he says that, you know, happiness is greater than or equal to your perception of reality minus your expectations of how you want life to behave, right? So reality minus expectations. So he goes over some of the big you know, the illusions that hold us back, like the illusion of time, the illusion of knowledge, the illusion of self, the illusion of thought, right? He talks about some cognitive biases that hold us back as well, like labels, right? Like the mind's fear mechanism, the negativity bias. And then he goes over some of the grand truths, right? The ultimate truths in this life. And, you know, if there's one book that I recommend to people, like, yo, if there's one book that I've recommended to more people than any, like including my sister, including my cousins, like everyone I tell to read this book, is Solve for Happy. Okay, and not only because he has the same name as me, same first name as me, but truly because when I read this book, I felt like I was on a different dimension, right? The first few days I was just like walking around, looking at the leaves in my garden and just staring at them, looking at the texture and the patterns. I felt like I was enlightened. Alright, of course that like is one level of the evolution. It was just a leap in my own development. So definitely helped me, and if you read it, I think it will definitely help you as well. Now the next book on this list is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, right? Again, Eckhart Tolle has been a huge influence in my life, and it's really about getting an awareness that you are not your thoughts, right? You are not just a human, right? You are a human being. Human on the level of form, on the level of time, on the level of identity, on the level of matter, right? But being on the level of essence, timeless, formlessness, undying, unborn aspect of who you really are. Getting an awareness about that so that we can conduct ourselves in that alignment as well, rather than caught up in the image that we try to sustain and, you know, project out to the world, right? If you didn't know, the word person literally means mask, right? It came from persona. It meant the mask that they used to wear in ancient Roman, Greco-Roman theater to project the voice. Is the persona, the mask, right? So it's all about understanding that it's a mask. There's nothing wrong with wearing a mask, right? We can play that role, right? We can play that role well, but not getting identified with that role. Always having an understanding of who we really are, so that we don't get trapped in that drama, right? Definitely one of the most influential books I've read in my life, right? And the final book on this list is the Bhagavad Gita, right? The Song of the Lord. And this is the story of Arjuna, who is a warrior. He has to go against his own family, and then he has a charioteer who is an avatar of the God named Krishna, right? And you want to get caught up in the details. People are like, yeah, was it actually the God? Was it actually this? Was it actually that? I don't know, man. At the end of the day, the lessons that I gleaned from this book have been, again, something that I think will truly take a lifetime to master. It'll be something that I have to truly repeat to myself again and again and again. But it's really about detachment, right? What is detachment? I heard a quote is like, detachment is not when you own nothing, it's when nothing owns you, right? Detaching yourself from the fruit of your action. It's like, you know your dharma, right? You know what you're here for. You know what your purpose is. You live out that purpose and let go of attachment to the fruit of that purpose, right? You are entitled to the action, what you are here to do right here, right now. You do that, but you let go of the outcome, of the attachment to achieving a certain result, right? I've seen this apply in every area of my life, whether it's like when I'm going to talk to someone I find attractive. It's like, am I actually here to provide value? Am I actually here to see what's going on? Am I actually here to see if there's chemistry? Or am I here to throw some lines and, you know, get a certain outcome over there? Or even in my business, am I creating this to actually just get a customer, to get some money? Or am I creating this to actually facilitate that interaction and evolve it in a way where everyone benefits and it's a positive virtuous cycle from there, right? Getting aware on the intentions behind why you do what you do, right? Two people can be doing the exact same thing, but if their intention is different, the outcome will be different as well, right? And then renunciation, right? Letting go of attachment to selfish desire, right? The senses being the primary obstacle on our path towards self-realization. There's just so many nuggets in this book that I highly recommend you check this out. If more of us really read this and made it a practice to live it, then we would live on a transformed planet. We would evolve humanity as we know it. We would evolve society as we know it, right? Because it's one thing to know these ideas, but to actually live them, to practice them, right? The primary teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is that, you know, the kingdom is to see the divine in all, right? The golden rule, treat other people how you want to be treated. Yeah, okay, we've all heard that. But when I think about how the world would look like if everyone truly lived like that, if I treated you like I treat myself, if I treated a random person like I treat myself, if I treated a taxi driver I would treat myself, like, if everyone did that, whoa, man, like I can't even begin to comprehend what the world would look like. But of course, it is a movement in that direction whereby we live through that belief that consciousness is the only thing that there is, and consciousness is manifesting itself through all these different experiences. But if we can really begin to identify with that pure consciousness, right? They say Sat Chit Ananda. Sat meaning absolute reality, Chit meaning pure awareness, and Ananda meaning unconditioned joy, right? If we can really begin to embody that, I don't even know how we would start, but really it's like once you can begin to see the divine in all is when you actually enter the kingdom of heaven, right? So with that, those are the 10 books that have truly, I looked through, like I've probably read more than 200-300 books at this point in my journey, maybe more, I'm not sure entirely, but these are the 10 books that have truly made an impact in my life, that have empowered me to become the reality creator that I'm capable of being, right? To realize that the world inside is more powerful than the world outside because it literally creates it. And the more we can actually reclaim that power, the more we can let external circumstances, they're still there, they're still always going to be there, but the more we can ground ourselves with the truth that we know in our heart, the more we can begin to express ourselves in a way that is in alignment with what we are here to do. Okay, so I hope that you got value from this video. All right, I hope that you actually read some of these books. Let me know in the comment below if you read any of these books so far, which one has been your most favorite, and if you haven't, which one do you plan on reading right now? Okay, what are you going to order from Amazon right now? Let me know in the comments. I love interacting with you guys. So with that, I conclude this video. Okay, like it if you like it, subscribe if you haven't already. This has been Saleem here, and I will see you in the next video. Much love to you. Take care.